Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching The Political Vigilante. Boy, the impeachment trial. We all knew the Republican Senate wasn't going to do impeachment, right? A lot of people on the left were like, I just want him. He's got that asterisk, that blotch, because the Congress impeachment. Now he's got that blotch on his name. No, you just emboldened him. But what was impeachment really about? We've talked about this before. More distractions from what was really going on. Do you know what else happened that I just found out? This was sent to me by another Patreon supporter. Go to patreon.com/Graham Elwood or rockfin.com/Graham Elwood to support the show. Because we'll find out about this. Oh, we could have had a step towards decriminalizing cannabis on a federal level, but democratically controlled Congress killed it. Wait, what? They've never done that before. As Americans distracted by impeachment, Congress silently killed cannabis reform despite support. Right around, they do this all the time. But that was December 27th. So it was between Christmas and New Year's, right around the holidays. Everyone's asleep on, impeachment and the holidays and this bowl game, and go buy a Lexus and put a bow on it and put it in your driveway. Ha ha ha. Boom, cannabis. They killed it. Trump not getting impeached for invading countries on false pretenses, or engineering coups to overthrow democratically elected governments in foreign countries, or sending weapons to the largest state sponsor of terror in the world, or massively increasing their surveillance state, all which is provable. Those are actually real, provable, impeachable things. But if you impeach Trump on that, then you better impeach Obama and Bush and everybody else. That's why Pelosi never did articles of impeachment for George W. Bush lying about weapons of mass destruction, because war's good. This was just a ridiculous show trial. Yeah, is Trump corrupt? Of course Trump is corrupt. Of course he is. He's 100% corrupt. Are there impeachable offenses? Of course there are. They could have got him on the emollients clause the minute he took office. But he's good for business. He's good for war. He's good for ratings. This impeachment was good for ratings. It's more professional wrestling theater. And it truly is a distraction on Christmas Eve. Weird, the corporate media didn't cover this on Christmas Eve. Congress summarily shut down cannabis reform that would have massively shifted the paradigm toward freedom. Christmas Eve. Was Rachel Maddow? Is she still screaming about this crime? Is Chris Matthews, Chuck Todd, any of them? No? None of the so-called lefties? They're left. This is the paradigm. This is where they keep it. And so this is left and this is right. It's not a real left. Attached to the 2020 spending legislation was a list of riders intended on making the United States less tyrannical and freer nation in regards to cannabis. So there are these riders that were in there. And then Newsweek reported, here's what the writers would have done. So this link to this article is in the show notes. It might be really small. You might not be able to see it all, but I'm going to read it for you, and it's in the show notes, the whole article. Read it. The writers would have prevented the federal government from interfering with legal cannabis companies and ease their access to U.S. banking services. So for those of you who don't know, in states like California that we have recreational marijuana, but even before that, California and about a dozen other states had medical marijuana. The problem is banks, even in Colorado and California and other states where recreational marijuana is legal, the banks are federally monitored. So the state of California says selling marijuana is legal. That legal business cannot put its money in a federally authorized bank. So it's still illegal on a federal level. So it's a huge problem. These cannabis companies are like, what do I do with all this money? This is a big issue. So the writer would have made it easier access to banking services, among other things the industry said it needs to function properly. Instead, cannabis businesses, which are fully legal in 11 states to date. So this is the thing I love, especially when the conservatives are like, states' rights, get the federal government out of there. Oh, but marijuana, no. Then we're going to tell you what to do. will continue to face erroneous levels of red tape and uncertainty well into 2020, despite the rapidly growing size and popularity among U.S. consumers. One of the most significant riders of the spending package would have prevented the U.S. Justice Department from using taxpayer dollars to stop states and territories from implementing their own laws authorizing possession. The federal government is telling states like California and Colorado and 9 other states that a law that their citizens passed is they can't do it for a plant. Distribution or cultivation of marijuana. The rider was tossed in favor of a long-standing one that protects only medical marijuana. In addition to shipping out all the riders that would have saved taxpayers money by defunding the police state that enforces cannabis laws, the Senate also added anti-cannabis legislation to the bill. So let's talk about that for a quick second. We're spending all this federal money and to fight weed. Why aren't we spending all this money going after sex trafficking? How about that? How about why isn't the federal government finding Ghislaine Maxwell and locking her up? Why isn't Prince Andrew, which they can go get right now, in handcuffs in an orange jumpsuit on an FBI plane coming back from the UK? Why isn't that happening? Why are we busting plant people that make plants and sell plants? By the way, I'm completely sober. I don't smoke weed. I don't want this legalized so that I can smoke weed. I live in a state where I can smoke weed legally. I'm a stand-up comedian. It's given to me after shows. But I don't need it. I don't use it. I don't want it. But it should be legal. And let's talk, that's why I want to bring up the financial thing. Why are we spending all this money on this? Why aren't we spending all these resources on like the real crimes that are happening? How about all this money going after the corporations that are polluting our planet? All the billionaires that are selling and raping children around the planet. Why don't we spend our money on that instead of somebody smoking a plant? You know, a plant like tobacco is a plant. Why can't that's a plant. So this would have saved taxpayer money. We're always talking, oh, how are we going to pay for it? How are we going to pay for it? Stop this bullshit war on drugs, arresting people for a plant. Federalize it, tax it. Gee, I wonder how much tax revenue we would bring in. I'm going to get into in a second. The tax revenue that's coming in from those 11 states that were just mentioned, they're bringing in a bunch of tax revenue. The Senate, so the democratically controlled Congress did this, pulled these riders. That's them resisting. And then the Republican Senate added an anti-cannabis rule that prevents Washington, D.C., which relies on Congress for funding, from legalizing marijuana or even reducing the criminal penalties associated with its possession, use, or distribution. Why didn't Obama do this, decriminalize it? We're going to get to that in a second. The American Journal of Public Health found that the availability of safe and legal cannabis actually reduced opioid deaths. Yeah. They started studying this in Colorado since it's been, recreational marijuana has been legal there for about 3 or 4 years, maybe longer, maybe 5 years now. So they did a study. Are there going to be some long-term effects to somebody that smokes weed every day? That's not good for you. Of course not. But it's reducing the number of opioid deaths? We are a country in the middle of an opioid epidemic. Wait a minute, how did that opioid epidemic happen? Oh, that's right. Companies like Purdue Pharmaceutical lied and paid off doctors to say, oh, it wasn't, and hid studies saying, oh, opioids aren't that habit forming. They deliberately got people hooked on it. They deliberately got millions of Americans hooked on drugs and ruined people's lives and their families' lives. Millions of people, the big pharmaceutical companies did. In marijuana, I mean, people that are addicted to opioids, this is the way you transition out, is with marijuana. A new experimental study showed that exactly how cannabis works to treat an actual opioid addiction. Wait a minute. So how do we treat an opioid addiction? By actually blocking opioid reward in the brain. So your body, when you start doing opioids, your brain gets chemically addicted to it and tells you, I need more, I need more, I need more. They did a study, smoking weed reduces by blocking the opioid reward in the brain. So that thing in your brain saying, give me more drugs, give me more opioids, give me more opioids. Smoking weed blocks that. So you're like, oh, I don't need that anymore. What would you rather have? Millions of people hooked on opioids or millions of people smoking weed? Ohio, West Virginia, large swatches of this country have been crushed. I'm sure viewers, you have experienced it yourself. And when someone becomes an addict, it crushes the family, the friends, the communities. I've seen this doc on Netflix. These people, these women and men are, working in law enforcement and EMTs, just people, there's bodies stacking up. It's just awful. Purdue Pharmaceutical had to pay a $500 million fine they lost in court to Oklahoma. $500 million, which is a lot of money to you and me. It's not a lot to a pharmaceutical company. So why are we? Do you see all this? We can't have people smoking weed. We can't have people just smoking weed. That's going to get them off of an opioid addiction that was created by pharmaceutical companies? Gee, how come this democratically controlled Congress took out this rider and then a Republican Senate made it even worse? Oh, Open Secrets can explain it for us. Pharmaceutical health products money to Congress. This is from 2018. Dems, 14.6 million. Republicans, 14.1 million. Almost identical. Almost identical. The pharmaceutical companies give to both parties equally. Equally. So when they were screaming about, we got to get Trump out of there, Trump out of there, the democratically controlled Congress led by Nancy Pelosi killed this. And then the Republican Senate killed it and made it even worse because they're all bought and paid for. This wasn't covered on NBC. That's why you get your news here, folks. That's why you do that. Thanks for watching the show. Like, share, and subscribe. Push these videos out there. We just crossed 60,000 subscribers. We're going to hit 100,000 in 2020. We got to do it. We got to do it. Make sure you're subscribed. Hit the bell notification button. I go live every Sunday at 3 p.m. Ron Placone and I, Progressive Comedy Tour, San Francisco, February 29th. Get your tickets now. And then March 12, 13, and 14, we are in Orlando, Tampa, and Florida. Get your tickets now. Some of those shows sold out last time. We've never been to Tampa before, but Orlando and Miami sold out last time. So get your tickets in advance at GrahamElwood.com. Thanks for watching the show. Hey, everybody. Like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell notification button. Even if you've done it before, YouTube is undoing that and they're unsubscribing people. Make sure you're subscribed. Share the videos out on your social media. Support what we're doing at patreon.com/GrahamElwood, rockfin.com/GrahamElwood, and come see Ron Placone and I on the road for the Progressive Comedy Tour. February, we're in Tucson and San Francisco. March, we are in Florida, Orlando, Tampa, and Miami. April, we are in Seattle and Portland, Oregon. And May, we are in Indianapolis, Detroit, and Cleveland. All my tour dates are at GrahamElwood.com. We're probably coming to a city near you. Join us. You show up alone, you leave a part of a community.